touch the zebra up
No,
close?
I haven't touched a zebra. Let's just say I like my safety. I just stay safe. I mean, some people will do it, but it's not that. It's not very advisable to do that just for your safety. But they'll probably be polite as the people are, I think. Do you have a question?
Me? No.
No. Okay.
What animal are you most likely to see? What animal are you least likely to see?
Let's see. What animal are you most likely to see? We have an animal called impala. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. You heard about it? It looks more like the deer.
Oh, did it have those crazy horns?
Yeah.
Yes. That's what you will see most of the time. We have actually so many of them that at certain times of the year there will be a hunting season. It's more like we will have all these traditional people because they have the image of being warriors, so they will go into the wild places just to cut down the populations and balance things up, and then they'll hunt them down. No guns whatsoever, so they'll be carrying their spears. They'll be trying to kill them as naturally as they can, and it's a fun thing to do, but I haven't done it, so I'm kind of afraid.
Yes.
So you'd see lots of those, but pretty much a little bit of everything. Lots of birds, lots of snakes. Some very warm places are very famous for lots of snakes, and yeah.
Now, your country is really, it borders South Africa, and they just learned a lot about South Africa and the apartheid and whites versus blacks there. Did your country get impacted by that?
Right. The time of the apartheid is a time that actually brought together Swaziland and South Africa a lot. One thing that is important to note is that there's actually, the language you speak, Swati, is one of the 11 languages they speak in South Africa, because we have some Swazis that actually live in South Africa. Basically a very big proportion, especially closer to the border lines where we're closer to Swaziland. And so the time of the apartheid was a time when Swaziland was more like a safe haven for people to run to when they were being oppressed, by the regime that was ruling South Africa at the time. So we had lots of these, leaders of the movement that was trying to, overthrow the apartheid times, running to Swaziland to hide in times of war. And so that kind of brought the two countries together a lot. I did mention that I think one of Nelson Mandela's sons actually died in Swaziland because he was hiding there, but at a certain time he got sick and then he died. So that's just brought together the country a lot. But economically, we are basically depend on South Africa for a lot of things, because we export sugar cane. We export sugar, actually. We grow sugar cane and we make sugar out of it, and that's basically all we do. We also do tourism, which is one of the big money makers and everything. But yeah, so that time was more like a very bonding time for the two countries, which is why, as we speak, we are very close with the country. We depend a lot on them for a lot of things. Okay, whose hand was up first? Okay.
What, do you have money? What is your...
Oh yes, I think I wrote it down somewhere there. We have a currency called emalangeni, or emalangeni is plural, and then lilangeni would be one. That's the currency we use, and I think $1 would be 8.9 emalangeni, lilangeni, whatever you want to call it, and that's the money we use.
Do you have clean water in there?
Yeah, clean water. We have clean water. It's obviously a problem for people who live in rural places, because some places are so remote that it's hard for basic services to reach there. But they're slowly trying to develop and make things better. But that is a big problem. It's a very big problem of clean water. Some people have to share water with animals. They have to take water from very dirty places. But have you ever heard of a borehole? Borehole, it's like they drill a hole to reach the water table at the bottom, and then so you'd have to pump a lot. You have to use a lot of energy to pump up water. Yeah, it's kind of like a well, yeah. So you have to use that to pump up water. That's how they get clean water. And when they run out of that, then it's back to getting water from the local rivers, which is kind of dirty. It's the reason why most people get sick. But it's a big problem. It's a very big problem. Yes.
What is the most common disease that you can get?
Let's see. That's an interesting question.
Yeah.
The most common disease. Let's just say if you're visiting, you don't have to worry about anything. We don't have too many mosquitoes or too many, I don't know, whatever. But, I mean, obviously waterborne diseases because of the lack of clean water. And obviously, we don't have too much cancer. We don't have too much of those, I don't know how to describe them, you know, those chronic diseases. But we obviously have a big problem with HIV and AIDS. I think we are one of the highest rate of people with HIV, basically because of our small, you know, the percentage of people with HIV in Swaziland is, I think, the highest in the world.
Really?
And that's basically because there's a small number of people and there's a lot of people. There's the proportion, you know, like proportion-wise. But yeah, that is a big problem too. And we're one of the people who are hoping for a cure very soon because it's killing a lot of people. I'll take him. I took her first and then you, yeah? Okay,
So like you had said a lot about like the tourist stuff and like there's all that. Okay, what's like the funnest thing that you've done? Like there's whitewater rafting and stuff.
I wish I had done rafting, but my rafting skills are not up to scratch. I probably just have to swim all the way down there. But I think my most interesting thing, my favorite thing too is hiking. I enjoy hiking. It's a great way to clear your mind, and you know, you see lots of birds, you see a lot of animals that you never thought you could see. I mean, not dangerous ones and everything. But that's my favorite thing to do. Yes, sir.
What's your favorite animal
My favorite animal.
in South Africa?
Let's see. That's a hard one. I don't know. I just like everything. Everything. I don't have a favorite one. What's your favorite one?
I think the lion.
The lion?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like really nice. The giraffe is also quite nice.
Yeah. What's your family like?
I have a family of 3 very, very awesome sisters. One of them is 13, and then I have 10-year-old twin sisters. And they are back home with my mom right now, so they're very young. But hopefully soon they can also come to the US like me, but we'll see how that works out. And my mom works for the government tax office, which is not people's favorite office in the country, but I guess somebody has to do it.
Yeah. So I'm trying to remember. Did I already ask you, like, how did you get to Wartburg? What's your degree?
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
I am an economics and business major, so I'm a double major in business and economics. And I came to Wartburg after I had studied in Europe with Oscar. Actually, we studied for, because he was 1 year ahead of me, so we studied for 1 year and then he left, but I was there for 2. And then I got to move to college in the US and I ended up over here, which is a phenomenal story, coming from a small, humble beginning in a small, tiny country that nobody knows in Swaziland, and then moving up to here. It's pretty phenomenal.
And you just came in September?
Yes.
Right?
So this is my first year.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
When do you hope to go back to Swaziland?
Not until summer of next year. Yeah, so this summer I'll be around. Let's watch out for me. Yes. Oh no. Okay, go ahead.
How's your economy? Like, good or bad?
You ask very good questions. You ask very good questions. You should be a politician. Our economy isn't the best around, obviously, because first we are landlocked, so we depend on South Africa a lot for transportation of goods that come by sea, and obviously depending only on sugarcane and tourism. Tourism is very volatile, if I may say. People will come at certain times of the year. They won't come all the time. And if there's a negative image of the country, then people will not come. And we have a very big problem with a negative image because, of the political system. Most people will prefer democratic. Even though we're very peaceful, we haven't had a war since forever. And so some people like that, but some people like a more democratic country. And so our economy is struggling, basically, in keeping up with, obviously, because it's more technology-based. The world is moving more towards technology, and being a small country like that, in that position that we're in, we're struggling with keeping up. But obviously with time, let me just say it's enough to make everybody happy. But not to make everybody rich, but to make everybody happy. Yeah. That was a hard question. You had a question?
Yeah,
Oh, you want the
That
same
was-
one?
that
Oh
was-
my God.
yeah.
Okay.
So you said tourism and corn were big. Sugarcane was also big for your economy. And then some problems that you guys are working on is like that clean water and HIV. Do you feel like your government, like, or not your government, you know, your king, does a good job trying to like fix the problem? You know?
It's really hard to say. It's really hard to say because this sort of monarchy, you know, kingdom kind of system means that the king is so venerated as an image that I would put up there that it's really hard to relate to, because he lives in a palace. He's got about 11 wives. They all have their own palaces. They live very rich and luxurious lives, and so it's really hard to kind of yeah, that is a lot of wives. It's sort of tradition.
A lot.
Tradition requires them to have that many, and so it's, I think, the government itself, I think they try as much as they can, but under the current circumstances, it's very hard to see any progress. But
Yeah.
I think what makes it easier is that as a people, we are very mindful of each other more than we are about our natural surroundings. So that you will never hear people protesting about clean water, even though they don't have clean water. They don't know it's a right for them to have clean water, but they're fine waking up in the morning and walking 5 kilometers just to get water, just to get by.
Yeah.
Okay, a lot of questions. I'll start with you.
Has there ever been a king that has stepped down?
There hasn't been a king that has stepped down. Since independence, there was that guy that I showed you. He was King Sokusa II, and then the current one, King Sokusa III. And when he steps down, it's very interesting what's going to happen when whatever happens to him, whether he dies or he gives up. I don't know. Because the next king, the king must be born alone to his mother. So he must be the only son to his mother. And as we speak right now, he's got 11 wives, and to each of them he's got more than one son. So
Ah,
the truth is the next king has not been born yet.
crazy.
So it's a very interesting, because if you're a wife, you try hard not to fall pregnant again, because you want your son to be king,
You
but
can't get pregnant.
it's not up to you.
Only once.
It's interesting, but it's a very interesting story.
I have one last question, really quick. So what's the thing that surprised or shocked you the most about moving to the U.S. here?
I think the U.S. is really big. The U.S. is a really big country. And it's sort of interesting to move to a place where things are more in reach. You know, it's very easy to get access to anything. You know,
Yeah.
technology is up to scratch. Transport system is up to scratch. You know, everything is good standards and everything. And it's sort of hard, and it kind of makes life so much more easier than when you were in life of saying, you know, I'm just going to keep trying to make it. It doesn't matter if I don't have internet in my house. If I need to contact people, I'm going to try all I can to get in contact with them.
Everything's just so easy.
Yeah, everything is just so easy.
Access and internet. I think that's one thing we struggle with the students, is because everything's so easy. Sit down. You know it's a huge pet peeve. Don't pack up. You have plenty of time. Everything comes so easily to them that to get them to work hard at something, it's a huge challenge sometimes. Yep. All right. Thank you so much, Lindo, for coming.